Hi! Ever wondered how some people seem to be able to attract jobs and exciting work opportunities without seeming to make any effort? That is the power of personal branding. And we will be talking about this over the next 2 hours, coming right up. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Yuan. I'll be your facilitator for the next couple of hours or so. Personal branding for job seekers. If you Google this topic on personal branding, right, there's a lot of people talking about it. There's a lot of resources. So what value add do I bring to the table? Well, essentially, there are two areas. Okay. Firstly, I have been a career coach for the last 8.5 years or so. I'll be coming to my ninth year in 2024. And throughout this period, I've actually helped many people individually as well as in workshops talk about various topics that are related to personal branding and how personal branding helps in their own career progress. Yeah. And how do I do this? Essentially is based on my own personal experience, right? I'm a multi-career switcher, right? Later on, I will share with you examples of what switches that I've done, right? Essentially, my experiences in successfully switching from different careers to others necessitated a lot of activities in terms of branding for my own self. Okay, so therefore, I use those experiences to help other people. Right. Now, apart from this topic on personal branding, I also do other topics like the ones you see here. Right. Now, if you wish to know a bit of the schedules on my upcoming sessions, towards the end of today, I will share with you that schedule so you can take a look. And if you're interested, you can join in those sessions as well. Okay. Now, I'm expecting around almost 80 people who've signed up for this particular session. But now, right now, oh, okay, we've got about 50% that's turned up. Great. So let's start, shall we? Okay. Can you recognize any of these people? Can you recognize any of these people? They're famous movie stars, right? I'm sure many of you have seen many of their films. But did you know that they have been typecast? They have been stereotyped. They actually appear in a lot of very common shows. Okay. So what are these? Who are they? Okay. So you can see that. You got Morgan Freeman. He usually acts as a wise old teacher. You got Tom Cruise, the hot shot, like Top Gun. All right. Clint Eastwood, the tough guy. Okay? Liam Neeson, the revenge guy. Okay. So why do we call them that? Essentially because, the activities that they've done, the movies that they have portrayed themselves in, typically typecast them so people get to know them based on those activities. All right. Now, what about this guy? Do you know him? The former President Barack Obama. Okay. So I'm pretty certain all of us don't know him personally, but we know what type of person, or we think we know what type of person he is, right? So if I ask you this question, what sort of parent is he? What do you think? What sort of parent is Barack Obama? Can you type into the chat box? What sort of parental style of parent do you think he is? Or progressive, liberal, consultative? Any others? So very positive, right? That's the impression that we get, right? Because of the way he talks, the way he brings his family into the situations and his discussion topics when he was present, as well as even after being the president. Cool, I like that. Yeah. So if you think about it, we don't know these people, but we already have an impression on them of them. Okay. And essentially, if you look at it, we all already have a personal brand, whether we like it or not. Essentially, I like this saying, I keep showing this in all my workshops. Jeff Bezos, your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room. If that is the case, then essentially what it means here is this. If we don't take charge of our personal brand, other people will create that brand for us. So really at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to suggest here. Okay? To take control of our own brand, don't leave it to accident. Okay? Be very intentional about it. Now, maybe we just go back to the basics first. What do we mean by a personal brand? What is a personal brand? Well, if I went to the Wikipedia, and basically this is what it says. Okay, personal branding is the process of defining and promoting what you stand for as an individual. Your personal brand is a culmination of the experiences, skills, and values that differentiate you. Right? So again, I come back to this notion of being intentional as opposed to being accidental. Right? As you will guess, I want us to be intentional in the way we transmit our brand to the outside world. I give you an example of this lady. I don't know whether you know her. Right? I can't pronounce her name, so I'm not even going to try. But she appeared, I think she appears very regularly on Twitter, TikTok, and all that. Right? This is what she is. She's actually dubbed as the most beautiful road sweeper. Right? She lives in Bangkok. Right? The most beautiful road sweeper. So you can see a picture of that. Right? So what she has done is very intentional. Even though she's in a job which is perhaps not so glamorous, she does something to help recraft her brand such that she's known as something more than her role. Right? And because she is able to do that, she's actually attracted a lot of sponsorships, and her earnings from social media and the activities related to that far outstrips any earnings that she's getting from being a road sweeper. Imagine that, right? To me, that is a very powerful example of what branding can do for you, right? So let me ask you this then. How will personal branding help you? How will personal branding help you? I need you to think about this because then it sort of places you in a frame of mind to be able to consider all the things that I'm going to share with you today. Okay? How will personal branding help you? Well, at the end of the day, it really depends. It depends. Depends on what? Depends on what you're trying to achieve, right? So if you are someone who wants to start your own business, you are an entrepreneur, okay? So having a strong personal brand will what? Will probably help you get more customers, more clients, right? Now, if you were like that Thai lady, right? She perhaps wants to position herself as an influencer. Okay? So being an influencer, the brand will help her attract more sponsorships and more opportunities to earn money. Right? Now, for most of us, mere mortals, I'm guessing it applies to you that you are probably wanting to know how personal branding can help you as a job seeker, or indeed even a person who is very conscious of your own career. You may already have a job, but personal branding will still help you. And how does personal branding help you if you are in this state? Essentially is this. It is not to help you get jobs, no, but it is there to help attract opportunities to you in your search for a better career or in your search to propel your career in a much faster way. Okay, so let's understand this. Okay, so in other words, what I would try to suggest to you very strongly throughout today's session is this. Personal branding, if we do it right, will help us become opportunity magnets. Okay, so you want to be an opportunity magnet. But the key thing here is this. Even if we are able to be successfully branding ourselves and become an opportunity magnet, we need to be conscious that this needs to be aligned with who we are. It has to be aligned with who we are. Okay? There has to be authenticity because it relates back to our integrity, our sense of integrity. Okay? So, one of the biggest topics that I want to suggest to you as a learning takeaway is that you should, at the end of today, know how to align your personal brand to who you are as a person. Okay? What are the other learning outcomes? Essentially, who can help you and what you can say as part of your personal branding journey, right? And how you can continuously develop your brand after you have placed yourself in that platform. All right. Now, for those of you who've been to my past workshop on this in May, I think the last time it was May, right? I actually brought in Peter. Peter was a case study and a client of mine and I used his situation to help go through the exercises with you guys. Okay, so let me introduce you to Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter. I'll be 45 this year, and I've spent the majority of my career in corporate settings, mainly in business development, strategic planning, and governance roles. I want to make a change as I feel it's time for me to do something I truly care about. I am strong in strategic thinking, am a good leader, and very adaptable. I have a passion for eco and sustainability issues, and see this as a growing trend.
Right. So, a very short introduction to Peter. Essentially, he's trying to look for a career change, right? And he is very passionate about eco and sustainability issues, right? So, throughout today's session, I'm going to use Peter's case as an illustration of what you can do in terms of branding yourself and all the activities related to that. Is that all right? Okay, so stay tuned for that. Now, we have a lot to go through, right? Some of you have also emailed me to ask me to address some questions you may have relating to this particular topic. So I'm going to address those questions towards the end when I do the summary of today's session. Is that okay? So for those of you who have asked me those particular questions, please stay on to watch until the end. Okay? All right. So let's start with the first topic, which is defining, how we define ourselves and personal branding. Okay, so essentially there are two areas that I'm going to talk about. Okay, two areas I'm going to talk about. The first one is the job search process. The job search process. Okay, now for those of you who have been searching for a job, or maybe now you are currently on the lookout, even though you are in a stable job right now, you're looking out. What are some of the biggest hurdles or challenges you have to overcome? Can you type into the chat box? What are some of the biggest challenges that you have to overcome? Okay, many people say age. Fair enough. Anything else? Any other challenges? Any other challenges? Lack of work experience, recruiter picks your resume, age, no relevant positions. Okay, fair enough. Competition, yeah, more experience, skill sets, hard skill to venture to other industries, lack of tech skills. Many jobs offered to, okay, foreign talent, okay. Transferable skills, maybe you're not sure about what your transferable skills are. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Very real challenges. But if you look at it, a lot of the issues that you have mentioned has a fundamental, how should I put it, area that we need to address first. Okay, the thing that you talked about, many of you say about age, about transferable skills, those are things that we ourselves need to manage. But outside of this, there are some fundamental things that we need to be aware of. Okay, what are these fundamental things? Okay, firstly, we need to understand this notion of the hidden job market. Okay, those of you who've been to my past workshops, you will know most opportunities, most job opportunities are not advertised. Many studies suggest that the percentage of opportunities that are not advertised, in other words, below the surface, can be as high as 70 to 80%. So only 20 to 30% of jobs are advertised. So we need to know how we tackle the hidden job market. Okay. Secondly, which is related to what a lot of you have mentioned in the chat box, employers are very risk adverse. Okay, which means what? Which means they only want to hire people, the best people they can afford, who are people who are qualified to help them. Okay, so they don't want to take risks, so they will only choose people who maybe try and fit 70 to 80% of their criteria. Right? So these are the two things we need to address and understand first. Okay, now imagine with these two scenarios, okay, what happens if you're falling into any of these categories? Many of you mentioned this already. Okay, you want to switch careers, but you don't know how to do it. You don't know what's the process. You don't know what your transferable skills are. Age. If you're an older worker, how do you overcome all these concerns? Right? If you're someone who has been absent from work and then you're coming back to work after maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe it's a returning mother, or maybe you've been away for whatever reason, and you're trying to come back to the workforce, right? All these things, right, are potential barriers, because if you fall in any of these categories, the two world of work parameters are very strong barriers to you. Now, I will, okay, so this is one stat that I just found out today. I sort of introduced here just last minute in the morning. Okay, it says that 80% of over 1,000 professionals LinkedIn, this is an article from LinkedIn, polled here are considering a new job in 2024. Around 70% of respondents also said they would like to choose a different industry or job role for their next career move. So you are not alone if you're thinking of moving to a new area as well. Now, obviously, all these are very major concerns, and I'm not sure if I would have time to address all of these in today's session. Okay, if you're interested, right, you can go to my YouTube channel, which is here, right, and I have recordings of my past workshops on these topics like attacking the hidden job market, career confidence over 40, and then developing career switching strategies. So those are topics, those workshops are topics that's directly related to some of these concerns, right? But for today, I'm going to talk about this topic of personal branding that is actually underlying all these things that you are experiencing. Okay, so it's the underlying foundation of this. Okay, so again, to emphasize, if you're a job seeker, if you're someone who is very conscious about your own career progression, right, personal branding would help you attract opportunities. Attract opportunities. Okay, so that's the first basic fundamental that I need you to understand first. All right. Now, let's take a look at the job search process. Job search process. I think when we talk about job search, when you're going out to look for a job, many of us focus on this particular part, right? How do we connect up with the employer? Many a time this relates to, what sort of CV should I write? How do I craft in? How do I go through an interview process? That sort of thing. So many people focus on this area. I'd like to highlight to you, if you don't know already, is that is only part of the job search process. That's the only a part of it. In fact, you would say that is actually the last part of the job search process. What are the other parts? Four parts here. Okay. Part one, who you are. You got to know yourself. You know your strengths, your passion, your interests, your capabilities. You need to know that, right? Then you need to know what's happening out there in the world of work. WOW stands for world of work, right? Once you know these, then you can develop what? A strategy. A strategy to approach the job market based on what you know and who you are. Okay. Once you have all these, then you can start thinking about how am I going to connect up with the employer. Okay. Now, let me ask you a simple question here. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4. Where does personal branding come in? Can you type into the chat box? Which stage do you think personal branding comes into play? Is it stage 1, 2, 3, or 4? Or is it all? Okay, so many say 1, some say 2, many say 4, 1, stage 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 3. One or two of you said all. Okay, let me sort of highlight again the definition of personal branding. Okay, I bring this up again. Personal branding is the process of defining and promoting what you stand for as an individual. Your personal brand is a culmination of experiences, skills, and values that differentiate you. So what does this mean? This basically means that in stage 1 and 2, you are trying to find out all these things. What motivates you, what you're good at, what you're strong at, right? Then you need to look at what's out there in the marketplace, okay? Whether it's in terms of market trends, what salary you can command, any benchmarks, and what are the prospects, okay? Once you match these two up, then you start looking at a personal brand. Because then you need to know, how do I position myself in the context of what's happening out there, right? Once you do that, then you start crafting your strategy. Okay? How you differentiate yourself, whether you need to upgrade yourself, how do you present yourself to the world out there, right? And then when you are going out to connect up with employers, right? How you develop the network, how do you communicate, how do you talk to the network, right? How do you customize your applications, your CV and all, even your interview process? How do you customize that to appeal to the employer, right? And sometimes you may ask yourself, okay, I'm going to a new area, I want to gain new experiences. How can I use my branding to sort of make sure to help me gain new experiences? Okay, so to cut a long story short, right? So stage 1 and 2 helps to develop your brand. The application of the personal branding will come in stage 3 and 4. Okay, so for those of you who said all, it's a yes and no answer. All right, so this is what it looks like. If you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. Okay, so stage 1 and stage 2 helps to develop your brand, right? Because you know what you are good at, how you present yourself, how you position yourself in the world of work. Then you use that brand to craft your strategy, and then you connect up to employers. Okay, right. So that first part here is defining, where does personal branding stand in the whole job search process. Hopefully you understand that. Okay, now next part, which is a development of this, is a continuation of this, is really then how do we position ourselves now? How do we position ourselves? Now, this is a very interesting thing because it goes into who you are, right? Who you are, right? But in order to know who you are, remember this little thing that I just shared with you just now, okay? Personal branding is about who you are and also in the context of the world of work. Now, in order to do this, we need to do something is to find out where do we stand in the world today, okay? And in essence, those of you who are marketing people, you know this. We want to do a brand audit. You want to do a brand audit, okay? So by doing a brand audit, there are a few things we need to do first. Number one, okay, we need to know what we are good at, what's our expertise, okay? We need to know what is our passion, what drives us, all right? Of course, then we need to know who needs the things that we can provide, right or not? Right? In the world of work, who needs those things, all right? But that is still not enough, right or not? What is the missing component here? You know who you are, you know what you're passionate about, you know there are people that needs what you can provide. What do you think is the fourth element that is very, very important to you? This is something that's very near and dear to our hearts, right? It is whether people are willing to pay for what we can provide, right? Some people may not be willing to pay, right? So if you look at this, where is the sweet spot? The sweet spot essentially is in the intersect of all the junction there, right? So we're going to talk about that immediately after this. But then the other component of a brand audit is really what you are known for. What you are known for. Okay? So again, if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. Okay? So next part here, right, is now we want to look at the way we identify all these four components. How do we identify all these four components? Now, if you look at what we are good at and what we are passionate about, essentially, we are identifying how we help people, right? Because we help people by using what we are good at, by also using our passion, right? So a combination of that is really helping us to identify how we help people, right? So that's the first component. Then the other component is what? When we look at who is willing to pay for what we can provide. In other words, somebody needs it and they're willing to pay for it. Essentially, then we need to highlight what is the benefit we give to them. What is the benefit we give to them? Okay? So if you come back to this notion that employers are risk adverse, how can we measure our success? How can we measure our career success? Now, many of you would say, oh, I measure my success by the title, by the money that I have. Maybe I want to suggest to you another way of looking at career success, right? Career success is how good you are at helping people at the end of the day. Okay? Obviously, by helping people, people see your benefit, then they're willing to pay you for it. Okay? So success should be measured and seen by as how good you are at helping people. Is that okay? All right. So maybe it's something different from what you normally think of as success. But I just want you to sort of maybe rejig your mind to think of it this way. Okay. You can take a screenshot if you like. All right. So how do we do this? How do we do this? We're going to talk about two particular components. Now, those of you who've been to my past workshops, you would have gone through with this, right? I don't have time to actually run through the details of each of the particular mechanics or tools to help you address this, but there are the links to the videos. Again, these links will be provided to you by WSG after today's session. Okay, but essentially, if you look at it, these two particular components here will help address a couple of areas. Okay, how you can help people, what problems you solve. Right? So how you help people here is really a combination of your competencies and your preferences. Okay, what problems you solve essentially highlights to people the value that you bring to them, and because of that value, that's how they are willing. That's what they are willing to pay you for. Okay, so let's think of it that way. All right, are we okay with this? So let's talk about the first one. Okay, which is this particular exercise of how you can help other people. Now, I already mentioned this. It's a combination of a few things, right? Number one, what you are good at. A lot of times when people ask us the question, hey, what are your skill sets? What are you good at? Right? It's very easy for us to list all this down. Right now, you're good at accounting, you're good at number crunching, you're good at marketing, that sort of thing. Fair enough. Okay. But many of us tend to put this other component to the side. What do you prefer to do? What do you prefer to do? Now, I think this is very, very important because if we don't know what motivates us, then we may never be fulfilled in our careers. We may be asked to do things that we don't like to do, and it may cause us stress. Okay? So the question in my head is that do you want to continue doing something that will cause you stress and makes you unhappy, even though you can do it? That's not a question for me to answer. You have to answer it yourself. Okay. Then the other thing to highlight is also, where do you want to further develop? And this is an indication of your interest and your passion. Because if you are really interested and passionate in something, then you will make the effort to learn how to do it. And once you learn how to do it, you want to get better and better at it. And once you get better and better at it, you want to use it. You want to apply this to help people, right? So that is the concept here. Okay. So very simple. This table has got two axes. On the top, you see there is a competency axis. I'm good at this. I'm not good at this. I'm good at this, right? The vertical column here is your preference, right? I like to do it. I don't like to do it. Are we okay so far? Again, I refer you to the video down, right? So you can take a look at the video. Will give you a lot more in-depth way to understand the whole thing. I don't have time to do that today, but hopefully you appreciate it, huh? Because I want to address a lot of things. So to cut a long story short, right? You see here, if you are good at something and you like to do it, essentially you are motivated to do it, right? However, if you are good at it but you don't like to do it, what happens? The more you use that skill, the more you are burned out, right? Then remember, I talk about something that you want to develop further is that part. You're not good at it, but you would like to do it. In other words, your interest area is there. Because at the end of the day, you want to push items in this area to here. But you need to know what these areas are, what these things here are, right? Irrelevant basically is things that you're not good at and you don't like to do. It may not be relevant part to your next career stage. Okay, so again, something very useful to consider as well. All right. So I'm going to use Peter as an example in this exercise. Okay, so again, a reminder, Peter, majority of his career has been in a corporate setting, business development, strategic planning, and corporate governance. Okay, that is his background, 15 over years background. Okay, so what would it look like if Peter was to do this particular activity? What would it look like? Think about this. In the motivated skills portion, in other words, he's good at it and he likes to do it, Peter will probably say something like this, right? Leadership, adaptability, business transformation, strategic thinking. He's good at this and he likes to do it. Okay? He has identified that. Can you identify those things in that box? And let's take a look at the burnout skills for Peter. What burns him out? Managing external stakeholders, project management, right? So the thing here is this. In the burnout skill, people see him as capable, as good as this. But when Peter does all those things, he feels stressed. He doesn't like to do it. Okay. Now, let's take a look at what he's very interested in, but he doesn't feel that he's good at it right now. So he wants to learn more. There you go. Right? Remember, he talked about how he's passionate about eco and sustainable issues, right? His track record there is not yet established very strongly, but he wants to learn more. So he wants to develop sustainable business. He wants to learn how to develop sustainable business practices. He wants to learn how to embark on environmental conservation network building. Okay. Then the irrelevant part, in other words, the rest of the skills that will not play a major role in his career progress, okay, he identifies this. Okay, I don't want to do coding. Financial planning is not something that I would consider as my next step, even though I'm not good at it, right? And then financial auditing is not something I would do as well. Okay, so that is Peter's competency and preference framework. All right. So if you wanna again take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. Right? Okay, hopefully you got a screenshot of that. Okay, again, like I said, the link to the video will be given to you in an emailer from WSG probably tomorrow on the next day. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this framework. Okay, it basically tells you how you can help other people. It shows you what you are good at and what you like to do. Okay, and what you are good at, but what you don't like to do. Okay, right. So that is that framework. So let's talk a little bit about the next portion. What is this? Essentially, we are looking at how what problems we solve. So all those skills that we have, we know how we help people. Now the next thing is then we know how we help people, but then what is the result? What is the outcome? What is the value add we bring to the table? So in other words, what are the problems we solve? And this is very critical. Okay. Not enough people think about their career in this format. And I'm starting to try, I'm trying to push out in all my workshops this notion. You need to understand what are the problems you solve, because by knowing that, then you know what value add you bring to the table. Okay. Why is it? Why is it? Why is this so important? Let me explain further. Okay. Essentially, right, you can go through the process that you see in the next few slides. How do you identify problems that you can solve? Now, typically, most people, they are very competent in listing down what their skills and experiences are, right? So I give an example here, right? Extensive people management experiences and successful track record of building effective team. So those of you who, if you have those skill sets, maybe you can relate to this particular example. So many people, yeah, you can say, oh, I have these skill sets, I have this experience. Very easy for you to put this down. Okay. The next easy thing that many people write down, okay, is this particular notion of how you do it. Okay, oh, I solve, I build a conducive team environment. I mentor people. I provide very clear directions. That's how I do it. What most people tend to miss out, whether by ignorance or maybe you just can't be bothered, but I'm suggesting strongly to you, you need to pay attention to this red box here. Okay, so if you have strong people management experiences and you know how you solve people's problems, then you now need to understand what are the problems that you help them with. What are the problems that you help them with? Okay. So for those of you who have got strong HR people management experience, what do you think are the problems that you can solve? Can you type into the chat box? What do you think are some of the problems you can solve? So conflict management. So conflict is the problem. Okay. Retention, people leaving is the problem. Okay. Low morale, yes, is a problem. Right. So we have to understand the wordings here. Okay. So motivation is not a problem. The lack of motivation is a problem. The lack of motivation is a problem. Okay. So in other words, so again, another example here. Right. So the problems here that somebody with these skill sets can solve could be high staff turnover, low staff morale, underperforming teams. Okay, so this is the problem. This is the problem. And why is this so important? Why is this so important? Because once you know this, it is so easy for you to go and identify companies that has this problem. Right? You can go out, talk to people, do your own Google search or whatever. You can find out what these problems are. Then you become their savior. You can go to them and say, hey, I can help you solve this problem. I can help you solve this problem. Right? And once you're able to do that, it becomes your strong differentiator. It becomes your unique selling proposition. It becomes part of your brand. Right? I hope you all get this. You know, I hope that you get the sense of urgency and passion that I have from my voice in sort of trying to share this with you, because I find this is so powerful and so uh, uh, long lasting. Because once you know what problem you solve, you can bring that and go and search for companies that have that problem. Or even if you apply for jobs, if the job, right, you in your research about the company advertised for that job, you see that, oh, they have this problem, that's why they need to hire that person. Oh, then you know, hey, I can do that because I can solve that problem based on my skills and experiences and the way I do it. Okay, I hope you sort of get that sentiment. All right, so let's take a look at Peter. What is Peter doing? Okay, how does he use this to help him identify his problem solving areas?
I have strong experience in corporate operations and business transformation. I am also passionate about sustainability processes. I help companies who have difficulty in integrating sustainability practices into their organizations and business models. I do this by providing strategic guidance in business process reengineering, building strong teams and orienting everyone to the corporate mission.
Right. If you want to take a screenshot of this, basically is what Peter is trying to achieve, where his problem solving areas are. Right? So if you look at this, once Peter knows what his problem solving areas are, he is very clear, right, as to what his differentiation is, right? What differentiates him from his competition. Okay? It is this, the ability to identify and to solve any companies who have difficulty integrating sustainable practices into their own company processes. Okay? That is his superpower. That is his superpower. Okay? Right. So we have talked about this, right? So we've said about, how do we identify our passion? How do we identify the problems that we solve? Okay, because once we know that there are people who value our the things that we can do to help with their problems, they are willing to pay us for it. Okay, they're willing to pay us for it. Okay, we know all these things. Now that we know all these things, something is missing. Something is missing. What is missing? Well, we need to know what other people think of us, right? Before we start trying to push our brand to other outside, we need to know, hey, where are we standing? What is other people's impression of us right now? Okay, remember what I said previously? Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So essentially, all of you, every single one of you already have a brand. Already have a brand. So you need to know. If you don't know already, you need to know what your brand is. Okay. Now, how do we do this? How do we do this? Okay. Couple of ways. Obviously, the first one, many of us do this. You Google your own name. Okay. Google your own name and see what comes up in the search results. Okay. Hopefully, the name that comes out is your name and not somebody else's name. Huh? So my past workshop, I use Adrian Lim as a name example. Right? If your name is Adrian Lim, hopefully when you type your name in there, it doesn't come up with any bad examples. Now, I would also suggest another way for you to find out what you are known for. Essentially, it is talking to people, whether it's to your family, your close friends, your colleagues. Okay? You just have to ask them. All right. At the end of the day, this is what you want to know. What are you known for? What are you known for? Right? Are you someone who they think is a very good organizer? Are you someone they think you are a good listener? Right? What are you known for? How do you help them solve their problem? Okay? Then you have to ask yourself, all those feedback that you get, does it match with your own desired personal brand? For example, right? If somebody says that, oh, Rubini is a very neat person, a very organized person, but no, on the flip side of it, it may also mean that you are very straight-laced. You're not very flexible. Is that what you want to be known for? Okay, maybe not. Right. So the thing now here is this: if I take a case of Peter, okay, example here. Peter, he sees himself as someone who is an expert in sustainable business practices. He wants to be seen as that. He wants to be seen as that. Okay. But he may not be seen as that. Other people may only see him as someone who's very strong in business development, planning, corporate governance because of his history, of his career history, right? So there is a gap. And this gap can be quite a big concern to someone like Peter because then there's a difference between what he wants to be seen as and what other people see him. Right? So ideally, there should be an overlap. There should be an overlap between these two areas. And the intersection here, right, could be your brand. Now, why do I suggest strongly that it should be the intersection? Because one is the intersection. It means that it is your brand, it is you. It becomes more authentic. Okay? Because it is how you see yourself, it's how other people see you. So the degree of authenticity is very high. So you need to look at where the intersect is. Okay? Right. That's the short 45 minutes or so on this particular topic, this section itself. So let me summarize this before we talk about any questions that you may have. All right. So in this particular section, we talked about how we define things. Okay. So number one, we talked about the job search process. Okay. We mentioned a couple of fundamentals here. Most of job opportunities are hidden, and many employers, in fact, all employers are risk averse. They want to hire the best people. Okay. So that's a basic understanding that we need to have. Right. And then we started talking about, right, in the job search process, there are different things that we need to do. Right. And the personal branding helps us most in the last two stages. Although the first two stages helps us develop our brand, but the implementation of brand is happening here in these last two stages. Okay. We talked a bit about positioning. I suggested a way to find out by doing a so-called brand audit of yourself. Okay. And that one essentially is looking at competency preference framework and what value you bring to the table. And then also taking a look at what you are known for. And hopefully, if there is a gap, how can we address that gap? And that will be addressed in the next section. Okay. So the idea here is really to make sure we understand these two areas, how we help people and what problems we solve. Okay. But again, underlying here is we have to be authentic. Okay. When we are pushing ourselves out to the world, if we are not authentic, if you're pushing a different version of us that we cannot sustain, it causes stress to us, and it is not our sense of integrity is eroded. Okay, so that's my underlying message here. Okay, so let us talk about the next portion. Okay, we talked about the defining part, so let's talk about how we communicate our brand, right? So here, essentially, here we're looking at what? How best to attract opportunities, right? So we need to then basically tell people who we are, and we need to build relationships. Okay, so that's a fundamental approach. Okay, so here we're basically saying that we want to make our brand visible to the market out there. And the thing that we want them to see us is what type of problem solver we are. Okay, because by seeing us as a problem solver, it basically suggests strongly that we give value. We give value. Right? I just came across this little saying which I thought was very good. Okay, if you spend your time chasing butterflies, they'll fly away. But if you spend your time making a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come. So don't chase, attract. So again, many of us will tend to say, I want to go and chase opportunities. I want to go out and grab the opportunities that they come. Fine enough, right? Takes a lot of effort. At the same time, why don't you do this as well? Create something that the opportunities come to you. Okay, so that is the notion of a personal brand. You attract opportunities. Okay, right. Now, in this particular section, I'm going to talk about these two areas. Now, some of you may find it particularly sensitive, or perhaps it touches a raw nerve. The last time I did it, one of the things touched the raw nerve. So I hope maybe this time around I can explain it better so that it doesn't do that. Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, social networks. social networks. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm not asking you to be an active social media person. No. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. So please bear with me and listen through the whole process before you pass judgment on what I'm trying to say. Okay, so the first things first, let's play devil's advocate here and think about this. Okay, what if you come across a person who does not have any presence in all the social media channels that you are used to? So we're talking about LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. You cannot find this person on the internet. What impression do you have? What impression do you have? Okay, ghost, IT dinosaur, isolated, many secrets to hide. Okay, private person, I like that. Private person, no online presence. So what does that suggest to you if there's no online presence? Now, what does that suggest to you? Well, successful could be hiding something. Yeah, could be. Prefer face-to-face, non-IT savvy. Right. So essentially, if you look at it, many of you, all your comments, there are some positive comments, okay, or rather neutral comments, but the large majority of comments are what? Are not so positive, right? So maybe there's something to hide, not tech savvy, not sociable person, is a recluse, is not up to date. Okay. He is a mystery. Okay. If that is the case, perhaps then we need to think about this. Should we do something intentional, not accidental, to manage this so that we want people to see how we want to be seen as? Again, I want to emphasize this. I'm not asking you to go all out and be a social media guru or go out and say, oh, I spam this, post this, and all that. No. What I'm saying here is that you do enough to give people an impression of you the way you want them to see you as. Okay, that's all. Okay, it could be very little, it could be a lot. I leave it up to you. But leave something out there that gives people an impression, hopefully a positive impression of who you are. That's all I'm suggesting. All right. Now, there are many media channels, social media platforms. Okay. I'm only going to touch upon LinkedIn. But whatever I'm going to say about LinkedIn and the way you can use it can apply to a lot of all the other social media platforms as well. All right. So take that as a framework that you, if you will, and you can use that to apply to other media platforms. Because in some industries, LinkedIn may not be so effective, especially like the entertainment, media, advertising industries. Maybe that's not, but the principles are still the same. Now, why do I highlight LinkedIn, for example? I think you all know this, okay? So recruiters use LinkedIn a lot to find out who the candidate is, but they also search on other platforms like Twitter and Facebook, okay? Many recruiters and hirers actually review our social profiles before making contact, okay? So it doesn't mean that they don't, when you know, if you don't hear from them, they are not actually aware of you, okay? They are probably very aware of you. And they do this, they go on to the social media profiles to really determine what sort of experience you have, professional experience you have, whether there are any mutual connections. Okay, that is important, which I'll touch on later. Okay, and also what sort of previous work you have done and whether you actually fit your personality fits into the culture of the workplace. Okay, so those are the things that they use to try and determine who you are. So here really then you want to try and make sure that you create something that people are aware of who you are and what are these components. Okay, so I'm going to talk very quickly on through this, right? Who you are, what you are good at, what you want to do, okay, and how you use the platform to build relationships. Again, the next few slides I'm basically talk about LinkedIn as an example, but the principles can be applied to other media channels as well, social media channels as well. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about who you are. The components of getting people to know who you are essentially are very simple, right? Comes back to what skills, what problem solving skills you have, what are the achievements, your accomplishments, right? And essentially, when you populate your media platform, your social media platform like LinkedIn with certain keywords, when people search these keywords, right, your name could be on that search list. Okay, so this is just an example. Okay, I use my own example, not the perfect one, but that is the one that I use to avoid embarrassing other people. Okay, so here highlight who I am. I use keywords to reach out to people to position myself in that manner. All right, and then I also illustrate in the about section what my problem solving skills are. Okay, what my problem solving skills are. Okay, so if you want to see more, you can go to my LinkedIn profile to have a look. Then in the other portion, under your experience, okay, here again, focus on your achievements and your problem solving skills and using the keyword. But here, make sure you list down information that is relevant to what type of career you want to go for. Okay, it must be relevant. Okay, that's important. Next, you want to tell people what you are good at, right? So here is where recommendations come in. So LinkedIn is probably one of the more unique platforms where you can get people to say more about how you have helped them. Okay, and who are the people that you can call upon to write this? Okay? These are people who are like maybe your current or former supervisors, especially if you had a good working relationship with them, your colleagues, your clients, customers, mentors. Okay. Now, many people have asked me, can I use friends and family? I'm not saying no, okay, but if people know that they are your friends and your family, then perhaps the credibility is not as strong as someone who is not in that category, but someone who has worked with you. That is even stronger. All right. Then we talk about what you are good at. And here, again, LinkedIn has a unique opportunity for you to contribute articles, write articles, or maybe even forward articles and give your own comment about what those articles mean to you. Right? So here, sharing and contributing your knowledge regularly is a very powerful way of positioning yourself, okay? Because it helps build credibility and it highlights your speciality, your expertise. Right? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? You can join groups, right, or follow companies, right, certain companies and certain professional groups, right, participate in those groups, right. By joining these two areas, right, you can actually establish your interest in those areas. When people search you up, there is an algorithm within LinkedIn that actually would highlight people who are interested in those areas that they are looking at. Okay, so maybe something that you want to consider. So, what does Peter do? What does Peter do? Okay, so here again, if you look at it, Peter, right, his LinkedIn profile really showcases his expertise, right? As what we all do. Okay? In corporate operations, business information, business transformation, and he highlights his accomplishments. But the other thing that he can do is also demonstrate his passion. Okay? Demonstrate his passion by sharing and contributing various articles and ideas in this area of eco-friendly and initiatives and processes. Remember, that's what he's really passionate about. And once he shares the passion, right, and he describes how this area can be integrated with his expertise, wow, then people start taking notice. Hey, Peter knows what he's talking about. And it's very clear that Peter is really interested in this area. Okay. He can participate in relevant LinkedIn groups and shares his own insights. Again, that tells people that he's interested in a very, very particular area. Okay. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, by all means do so. Okay. So that is, in essence, a short really mention about social media, how you can use it, and in particular, how you can use LinkedIn. All right. Again, like I said, I'm not asking you to be a social media guru or social media magnet, all right? But just do something, however little you feel you should do, but something out there to give people an impression of who you are in a more positive way. Okay. You want to be deliberate about it, but at the same time, you also want to present a very consistent face. Okay, consistent, what do I mean by being consistent? Basically, it means that No, if you talk about, let's say in case of Peter, he talks a lot about eco sustainability and all that, right? That's his focus. But then somehow or other, he talks about other things like project management and all that, which may be totally unrelated in some people's eyes. Okay. So be consistent. If you want to be known for that particular area, be consistently sharing information, your knowledge about the particular area. Okay. So that's key thing here. I hope this is okay. All right. Very short, but again, you can go through the videos that I've suggested to you, and those are the you can see more information there. All right. I want to talk about building relationships or networking, some people say. Okay. Again, there's a video on how you do this. The video will actually go into a lot of in-depth ways as to how you can build a plan, a network plan, how you can reach out to people. I'm just going to touch on these things here on a not so deep level because of in the interest of time, but you can take a look at this. But essentially, if you look at it, in networking is not sucking up to people, okay, as this phrase says. It's about showing that you're invested in their interest, in their work, before you ask them to invest in yours. Okay, so you must show interest in them. So it's not about you, it's not about you. Okay, so we all know this stat, okay? 50% of hires come from personal connections. We all know this, right? We also know this active networking is crucial for career success. Okay, so research has shown this already. Now, something that you may not know is this thing about first, second, and third degree. Okay, first degree obviously is the direct people you know directly. Second degree is people that are the people that you know directly, but the people that they know. Okay, and then the third level. Okay, now research has shown that actually the most effective network components. In other words, the people that are more than likely to give you opportunities or insights are in the second and third degree. So how do we reach out to this? I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. Okay. Now, one thing I must emphasize here is this. I mentioned this earlier, okay, the hidden job market, right? So majority of opportunities are not out there. This chart suggests it's only about 25% that are advertised. Okay, and I address this in this particular video. But what I want to say is this: okay, building networks, building your various connections is the best way to uncover hidden opportunities. So it comes back to that question I think somebody asked earlier on, just a few minutes ago. So this is my short answer. Building networks, building relationships in key areas that you are interested in is the best way to uncover hidden opportunities. Why? Why? These are the people that will be your informant. They will be giving you information of what's going on out there. Okay? They would probably be the people to connect you up with other people who may have more opportunities or who have more insight. So they could be the connectors, so the second and third degree contacts, right? And this one I always cannot underemphasize, right? Overemphasize enough. They can be your cheerleaders, okay? Especially when you have a good relationship with your network. They can cheer you on and say, hey, yeah, you're doing great. This is the area that you should go into, which I think is so important. We cannot discount the motivational aspects of people cheering us on. Okay. And obviously, they can be people who refer you great opportunities. Okay. So very, very important. So building your own network is very important. But I want to emphasize that networking, you should be focusing on relationships, right? So if you think about it in terms of relationships, then you start looking at it in a very different way again, right? Remember, it is not about sucking up to people. It is about having a vested interest in what they do, right? Before they can be really interested in you. So you want to build a relationship, right? And I always have this phrase: it is not about you. It is not about you. It is about how you can help them. Okay. Now, how are we going to combine all this into the way we approach people? Stay tuned. Again, being very deliberate, being very consistent means you need to plan. Okay, so building networks, building relationship is something that you shouldn't leave it to an ad hoc process. You need to plan or to get the best mileage out of it. Okay, you may have a very simple plan, you may have a very comprehensive plan. Okay, so here again, the whole idea is to reach out to second, third degree levels. Now, what I'm going to share with you is a slide. Again, I want to run through it very quickly. It's a very comprehensive plan. You may not need to do all of it, but I rather show you the comprehensive plan and then you take a look at what is relevant to you, what you can do, all right? And then you go from there, okay? So this is what I call the network building plan, the network building plan. Okay, so what is this? So essentially, if you look at it, first one, understand what your goals are. What your goals are. What are you trying to achieve? Okay, whether it's getting opportunities, getting clients, or whatever. Okay. Then you start looking at resources. In other words, who you do know as a first level contact. Who are these people that can help you reach your goals? Okay. Then you start looking at who would you like to meet in the second and third level. Okay. So how can these first level help you connect up to the second and third level people? Okay. What do you have in common? What do you have in common with them? Okay, whether it's through the alumni, whether it's through professional organizations, you've gone to events, the same events that they've attended, you've gone through same online groups or platforms. Now, this is a very powerful way to get people, to motivate people to connect up with you. I'm not saying that you cannot do it if you don't have any of this, but this is the best way. So dig deeper and try. Because if you don't, then the chances of people rejecting your first approach may be quite high, unless they say, oh, this someone was referred to me by someone I know. Oh, this person attended the same thing, same event that I attended last week. Oh, this person read my work, read my article, right? So then they get interested in talking to you. Identify your value add. The exercise we did about 20, 25 minutes ago. Okay. What can you offer? How you can help them? Okay, put this in your LinkedIn profile or whichever social media channel, because that is the way they will get to try and know you, whether you are worthwhile connecting up with. Okay. Practice. Okay, I'm going to talk about personal pitch later on, so stay tuned for that. But you need to practice and start developing your own listening skills, because when you are talking to them, it is not about you, right? You want them to share what they know. Okay, so it is not about you telling them how good you are. That's not the whole idea. I'll share that more. Then, obviously, the way you connect up with people, informational interviews. For those of you who don't know what it is, I'll give a very brief overview later on. Referrals from friends, from family, right? Make sure you add value first before you take. Don't be a For those of you who are selling insurance or have been selling insurance, I apologize if I use this analogy, but don't be an insurance salesman. Don't push products to people. Okay. Even after meeting people, you follow up, you update them on what you have done and what was discussed. Right? Deliver on your promises. Okay. So if you want to take a picture of this, by all means do so. Okay. All right. So we have Peter. Let's see what Peter has done to develop his own network.
I'm leveraging on my contacts to connect me with key second and third level contacts I have identified in the sustainability sectors. To increase my chances of connecting, I'll be sending out personalized emails, and will include some common aspects between us, such as our common connections or as an alumni. I would also want to try and meet up with these connections personally, either through common events or by informational interview sessions.
Right. So this is by no means a passive activity. Yeah? It is something that we need to do actively and deliberately. Okay, so those of you who are not comfortable, right, you say that, hey, that's too much work. Okay, then your process may take a bit longer. May take a bit longer. All right. Next thing, what should you say? When you approach someone, what are the things that you should say about yourself? So I'm going to give you a certain framework. I know there are lots of information out there, but I have this framework which I've used personally and I've helped my clients use, and it seems to work for them. So I'm going to share this with you. Okay. So you've got all this thing here: skills, how, goal, and motivate. Right. So what is this? Skills. What do you do well? Whether you're an expert in something or whether you're proficient in something. Right? How you help people, what problems you solve. So I help blah, 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 and all that. I'm going to give you examples, okay? What would you like to do? What's your goal? What would you like to do? So, I may be looking to learn something. I'm open to opportunities in this area, so on and so forth. Okay. What drives you? What motivates you? You could use words like, I'm inspired by this. I really believe in this. Okay. So I'm going to share with you Peter's own pitch.
Hi, I'm Peter. I have over 15 years experience managing and overseeing corporate governance and operations. A driving passion of mine is developing sustainable business practices within organizations. Given this, I'm often asked to help organizations streamline and enhance their governance structures and business operations. I recognize that many companies often struggle to integrate sustainability into their business models effectively. With my experiences in corporate governance and planning, and my passion for sustainability practices, I can provide strategic guidance to organizations seeking to adopt environmentally responsible strategies. I truly believe every organization has the capacity and responsibility to operate in a sustainable manner. I want to help and initiate such practices in organizations.
So here, the pitch is not something that you have to say all at once. Okay, treat it as part of a conversation. All right, treat it as part of a conversation. I'm saying that this is not like an elevator pitch where you got 30 seconds to tell somebody in the lift, right? If you can say all people are interested, fine. But I would suggest strongly you treat it as part of a conversation. All right. So people may ask you the first thing, you say, oh, what do you do? You can start off by saying the first part and maybe even the second part, especially if people says, oh, that sounds interesting. Now, how do you do this? Right? Then you continue the conversation. Okay. So that is a conversation. Maybe I shouldn't call it as a pitch. Maybe it's a conversation. It's a conversation. Is that all right? Okay. So if you want to take a screenshot of this thing in, by all means do so. All right. Okay. So we talked about what you should say. So then the next thing here is how can you make the connection? You've already done the network building plan. You've identified who you want to talk to. You basically know how you introduce yourself, how you can excite people to continue the conversation with you. So now is really creating an occasion to meet up with them. So there are many ways to do this, but I always come back to this notion of informational interviews. Okay. Now, informational interviews is a very useful tool. Again, I'm not going to go through the whole process because there's a lot of things inside. Anyway, you can Google it, right? The video, you can take a look at it as well. So what I'm going to share with you the next couple of slides is really an overview of what informational interview is all about. Okay. Essentially, if you look at it, informational interview is what? It is a conversation where a person seeks insights on career path or the industry or company from someone with experience and knowledge in the areas of interest. Okay, so essentially, it's really about building relationship with the person that you're keen to talk to, right? Because that person will tell you what's going on. Maybe he can reveal some opportunities that not a lot of people know about it. It's not in the public sphere. And when you build a good relationship with that person that you have just engaged in as an information interview session, can become your supporter. He can become your own recruiter network. He can be someone who actually goes out to search opportunities for you. That would be the ideal, wouldn't it? Right? So again, some key points here, very quickly, the focus is to create awareness. It is not about finding a job. Okay. So you are trying to find out more information, you're trying to engage the person, having something in common. The focus is on the person that you're talking to. It is not about yourself. Okay. So you want to build a relationship with that person. Okay. At the end of the day, you want, for any of these sessions, you must be prepared. Now, my video, which I gave the link here, will go through the whole process of how you prepare for an information interview. So do take a look on that. Okay. So hopefully that's okay. All right. So Peter, if he goes on this process of getting to try and meet people, what will he do? He will conduct interviews with professionals in the sustainability sector. He wants their guidance, he wants their insights. In the conversation, he demonstrates strong interest. He actively listens to the person talking. Okay. And that person, when that person talks, Peter expands his own knowledge. But he can also leave a lasting impression on the other party about his passion, right? And how driven he is to want to go into that sector. And that being the case, chances are he's likely to impress people, impress the person that he's talking to. Okay? And they become his advocates. They become his supporters. And they will go out and look out for opportunities and refer to him for such opportunities as well. So that is a gold standard you want to achieve. Okay? So this is the section on communication. Okay? Essentially, just do a quick roundup of this. Okay? We are talking about how to best attract opportunities. How you attract opportunities. You want to tell people who you are. You want to build relationships. It's not about network, not about sucking up. It's building relationships, right? And in the process of building relationships, you want people to see you as someone who can solve problems. Maybe not their problems, but a problem which they recognize and specific, which they may refer you to someone else. Okay? In this session, we talked about two areas. First area was on social media, how you leverage on social media to your advantage. Okay, you don't want to leave it as an accidental exposure. You want to manage it intentionally. There are many media channels out there. I've just used in LinkedIn as one example, but essentially the same approach applies. You use the media channels to tell people who you are, what you're good at, what you want to do. Use that channel to build relationships. Okay? I talked a little bit about networking or building relationships. And really, the whole idea of having a strong network or strong chain of relationships is really to help you uncover opportunities that are not in the public sphere. Okay. You need to organize yourself. Okay. Whether you use an extensive plan like this or you have maybe a shortened version, I leave it up to you. But the message here is that be organized, be deliberate about it. Okay. You want to target the people that would help you or who can give you insight into the career that you want to go for. Okay. So the people have to be relevant to your own career objectives. Maybe not the first level, but hopefully they can help you reach out to the second and third levels. We talked a little bit about how you would approach it, what do you say, and how you organize the session to talk to the people through the informational interviews. Okay. So again, the emphasis here is you want to attract opportunities. Yes, you can go out and chase it, but why not do the work to attract opportunities to you? Isn't that so much better, right? And knowing who can help you and what you can say is a strong lever to attract opportunities for yourself. Okay, so let's talk about the final part, which is how you manage it. Once you have established what your brand is, how you communicate people, let's then talk about how you sustain and maintain your brand out there. Okay, so again here, we don't want to leave it to accident. We want to make it intentional, right? Here, you need to look at how you manage people's perception of you and how you enhance your credibility. Enhance your credibility. Right? And essentially, it is really about communication again. Right? But you want to do it in such a way that is consistent. Right? You want to tell people what you are good at. So how do we do this? How do we do this? Now, so many ways. So many ways. Okay. You could, those of you who like to write articles, write comments and all that, you can do that. You can do that. All right. You can, post in LinkedIn, write short articles, write commentary, share articles, share information. Now, for those of you who are more inclined to deliver talks, speeches, by all means do so. Whether it's in a small group or in workshops like this, by all means do so. Because this is also a very good. Or you can even record yourself and post it on a YouTube channel. Establish your own YouTube channel. People see you talking. Okay, that is also a very strong way of doing it. Going, joining particular interest groups, right? Regularly reaching out to your network, right? Those are very strong levers to help sustain and maintain your brand out there. Okay, but the key thing here is this. Again, I come back to this: be consistent. Don't go A, then suddenly you talk about Z. Be consistent. If you want to talk about A, maybe you talk about B and A, right? Something that's related to it, and be very deliberate about it. Be very deliberate. Now, I want to add in one particular component which I didn't really emphasize a lot in my last workshop. Is this one? You want to also be supportive of people in your network. Okay. Remember, we said you want to build relationships. Okay. And part and parcel of building relationships is also supporting other people. Supporting other people on what they do. Okay. Whether it's in the form of encouragement or whether it's in the form of giving them your value add, your insights or whatever. But the message is this: be supportive. So it is not just about you saying how good you are, what you can do. It's also about how you help and support other people as well. That's how you can sustain your own brand. That's how you can sustain your own brand. All right. So we're Peter again. So what does Peter do?
Every day, I try to repost and give my own insights into articles about corporate sustainability issues and practices. On a weekly basis, I write short articles about how companies can re-engineer their processes to incorporate sustainable practices. I am also active in sustainability groups in Singapore such as Zero Waste SG, Green Nudge, Business Council for Sustainable Development Singapore, and the SICC Sustainability Interest Group. I also plan to actively participate in smaller eco-events such as Green Market and Festival of Biodiversity. After every networking event, I will highlight what I've learned and how these have enhanced my own passion in this area.
Right. So those are the things that Peter has done and is planning to do. Again, it is not an overnight thing. There's a lot of things over a stretch of time. Building your own brand takes time, but it also takes effort. Okay. I saw a question here. Maybe I would address that. How to take the first baby steps in building your own personal brand? What is the first thing to do? Well, what I would suggest strongly first is to do a brand audit, like what I mentioned earlier on. Do a brand audit of what you're good at, what's your expertise, what's your passion, and what sort of value add you bring to the table. Okay, and then also understanding how other people perceive you. That would be my first thing that I would suggest you do. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. Okay. So summary. So we talked about these three areas: define, communicate, and manage. So what are these three areas? So essentially, the first one was jobs, the job search process. What is it? Okay, we said personal branding is really about implementing your brand in the last two portions. You develop a strategy, you connect up with people. However, the first two here feeds into you developing your own brand. Okay, so that's the important part you guys to understand. Okay, in terms of positioning, the underlying message here is that you want to be authentic. You don't want to be someone that you are not. Okay, so you have to understand all the things that you're good at, that you're passionate about, but at the same time, marry this up with people who may need your services, who may need your expertise. And by demonstrating your value add, they will be willing to pay you for it. Okay. solving problems, understanding how you help people is such a strong, unique selling proposition. It is your brand. So pay attention to this. Spend a bit of time trying to understand what are the problems you solve. Communication. We talked about how to best attract opportunities. That's the focus. Right? Here, the idea here is what? You want to be intentional. You don't want to leave things to an accident. So you want to be very deliberate in placing enough information out there so that people have a impression that is positive for you to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. Okay? We talked a little bit about social media. We talked a little bit about network building. Okay? In terms of social media, I basically say that, maybe you want to communicate these 4 elements. Use whatever channel you think is appropriate for you, whether it's LinkedIn or something else. Okay. But the key thing here is that be a bit deliberate. In other words, be very conscious of what's out there, right? What you are seen as, okay, and be consistent about the messages, the impression that you give to other people. Right. You can do as little as you want, but do enough to leave a positive impression. Building relationships. Okay. The whole reason we want to do this is because we want to uncover opportunities that are hidden. Right? And these relationships will help you get to know about these opportunities and they become your supporters, your referrers, your advocates. Right? But you need to be planned, right? You need to do proper planning. Okay? Here, you want to be targeted, you want to be very relevant to who you want to talk to. Okay? We talked about informational interviews, we talked about the pitch, what you can say to people. The last portion we just covered a few minutes ago, managing our brand outside. Okay, essentially what you are good at. Right? Here again, we want to make sure that we manage these 2 areas: how other people perceive us, our level of credibility. Okay, basically it's constant communication, regularly. Okay, and make sure it's consistent as well. So hopefully now you see 3 components to take away. One, how you can align your own personal brand to who you are, create a sense of authenticity. Know who can help you and what you can say, right? And what are some of the techniques you can use to continuously manage and develop your own brand out there. All right. All right. What are the 3 areas? First thing, let's talk about the reality in the workplace. The reality in the workplace. Okay. How many of you have thought in this manner or are thinking, or you know people who think in this way? Be frank, I myself used to think in this way. Okay, my boss should know what I do. People, it's like, as long as my boss sees how hard I'm working, I will get a promotion and that sort of thing. All right. So we always think that, no, as long as we head down, do our work, things will come, our rewards will come. But the reality, especially nowadays, is not like this. I see so many clients and other people, non-clients as well, who get overlooked for promotion, for pay rise, for new opportunities. Why? Nowadays, maybe I won't say nowadays, like it's always been this process, but I think the awareness is stronger. Okay. When our bosses talk about who to promote, pay rise and all that, it's really in a panel discussion, right? Where a group of bosses will sit together and say who deserves this, who deserves that, who deserves this. Okay. If you have a boss that doesn't know you well, or who is not convinced by what you do, or who is not a very good advocate, who is not a very good speaker, outspoken person to fight for you, and the other people around the table don't know you, your chances of getting all these things are much slimmer. Okay? So my main message here is that even at work, you need to be very conscious of your own brand at work. You cannot just head down and think about, automatically you do your work, people recognize you. Now, I'm not saying Be politics? Be political? No, far from it. In fact, I hate politics, by the way. Okay? But what I'm saying here is that you should be very conscious of how you should present yourself. Okay? Be very conscious. For example, if people say, hey, you want to join in these things, you want to contribute to this meeting, don't say no, I got no time. Okay? Think about this. How can it help you? How can it help other people then in turn help you? Okay. Now, related to this particular area, which I think is very relevant now, I just came across this article a couple of days ago. Is this one? Okay. Maybe it's too small for you, but it is about work from home. It is about work from home. I extracted something at the bottom that says remote workers are getting promoted 31% less than people who work in the office. Wow. Maybe you all know this, but even when it's said like this, it can be quite jarring, isn't it? Now, why do you think that's the case? Why do you think, there's a tendency for people who are not in the office, who don't work from home or who works from home, are just not being considered for promotion? Somebody mentioned about visibility. Yeah, essentially it is, isn't it? Right? Because like it or not, many company culture and bosses in particular have this notion that, if I don't see the person, I don't know what he's doing. Not he's at home, working from home. Is he really doing the work and all that? Like it or not, right? I know it's not right, but there is that perception sometimes. There is that perception sometimes. Okay? So how do you then? Now, many of us love working from home, right now. Okay? But then how do you then circumnavigate this notion? If you are working from home, what can you do? What can you do? How can you increase your visibility? As somebody mentioned there. How can you increase your visibility? Well, somebody mentioned face to face. Okay. Initiate more face to face meeting, face to virtual face meetings. Okay. So don't just be comfortable and just work by email, by message, and all that. All right. Looking at people in the eye, people see you, see your face, see your presence, especially if it's in a one-on-one situation, is a much more powerful and creates a much lasting impression, much longer and lasting impression of you as a person and what you can do. So don't sort of say, okay, I'm just going to have to ignore all face-to-face meetings. I'm just going to do emails and messaging, right? That is not such a good idea. Not such a good idea. Yeah. How many of you, when you go for Zoom meetings, where there's a large group of people, you just relax and keep quiet, just accept what people say, right? Again, when people you don't hear from you, they don't know who you are, they don't know what your views are. You may have something that is very particular that you thought, hey, that's not right. Okay? During meetings like this, Zoom meetings especially, all right? Resist the temptation. I know it's a very strong temptation, but resist the temptation of just sit back and relax. Lah. All right. Some of you may put the, the static picture just to make people think that you are still there. In fact, you are running around doing something else. Okay. Let's try and speak up. Take the initiative during the conversations. All right. Show that, hey, this person, you have something to say. You have something worthwhile. Right. You have some ideas as well. How many of you during Zoom meetings are so tempted to just dress in t-shirt and shorts or singlets? Or even some topless for guys especially. You don't wear a shirt and all that. All right. What is the impression that people get of you? Especially when you turn on the camera. Right? Take the effort. Dress in a more positive way, more professional looking. Okay. You've seen people, right? They dress top part, they dress very formal, but bottom part is shorts and maybe underwear. I don't know. Okay. But whatever it is, what's come on the camera, look professional. Okay, look professional. Okay. This is something which I encourage everyone to do, whether you're working from home or even in the office. You update your bosses regularly, right? Maybe on a weekly basis. Give him updates on what you have done, what you have accomplished. Okay? This tells people that you are active. This tells people that you're taking the initiative. right? At the same time, if you have problems, you have issues, share your problems and issues, but suggest what you think a solution should be. Okay? So don't go to your boss with a problem. Go to your boss with a solution that you think can work and see what he says. Okay? This one I cannot emphasize enough. Okay? Working from home, sometimes we take cover, right? The notion of taking cover. But what if we be more proactive? We take the initiative to try and share whatever information we know, we have learned while we are working from home, what we have learned. Maybe sometimes when you're working from home, you're actually going on a course as well. Share what you have learned. Okay. Offer help. Take the initiative to offer help to your colleagues as well. Okay. Then that sort of tells people, hey, um, Andrea is someone who I can depend on. Andrea is someone who is very helpful. Okay. Andrea is really good in this area. Okay. Hopefully that sort of gives you some insights as to how you can manage your reputation if you're working from home. All right. Okay. The next big question that I've been asked is this: how can AI help me in my personal branding efforts? Wow, when I saw this question, I was saying, oh my goodness, there's just so many things out there in the AI market. I don't know whether you have been keeping track or not, but over the last 6 to 8 months, I've been keeping track. And every day, literally every day, there is a new tool that comes out. Okay. So, I'm not going to go through every single tool that is out there in the marketplace. No. What I'm going to suggest to you and to look at, to position yourself as to how you can use AI for your personal branding is to consider what you are trying to achieve in your personal brand. Okay. So, for example, here you present yourself, how you present yourself. So there's one question here. Is it okay to use AI apps, photo apps to generate nice professional headshots? Uh, HM Wong, many people are doing it now. Okay, many people are doing it now, but do it in a way that is credible. So in other words, don't do it in such a way. Let's say, for example, if you are a 55-year-old person, don't make it such that you look like 35. Okay, but no, maybe you use the AI to generate a more professional image of you. Yeah. So here, presenting yourself, the AI tools can help you present a good image of yourself. Okay. Those of you who have developed websites and all for yourself, because some of you may have a portfolio career, right? AI can help you develop a very nice website or blog site for you to communicate and brand yourself out there. Okay. So you can use AI tools to help you present yourself better. How do you engage people? No, remember, personal branding, the part of personal branding is really how you interact with people, how you engage people. So how can AI help you in this? How can AI help you in this? Really, at the end of the day, it is about no, because AI, everything is online right now. What sort of things you put out, whether it's content, what you write, what sort of stories you say, AI can help you with that. Okay. Again, later on, which I'm going to emphasize again, is about how you use the tool, but you don't use the tool in 100% such that everything you write is AI generated. There's nothing about you inside with the content. That would be the wrong way. Especially nowadays, now there are tools to detect AI writing. Remember that. Okay. Frequency. Sometimes AI can help you post things in a more frequent way. Right? It can help you determine when is the best day of the year, day of the month to post something, when is the best time of the day to post something. Personal branding, part of it is to build connections. So how can AI help you build connections? Remember, when we said about building connection, is about relationships, right? And in relationships, you want to add value. So AI can help you add value as well. For example, right? If you are in the habit of you have, let's say, a large group of people that you want to communicate with, right? And you know that these group of people are very interested in a particular area. Like for example, Peter's case, this eco-friendly social economic processes and all that. So what Peter can do using AI, use an AI tool to web scrape all the latest information and data about this area, right? Create maybe an article or write a short piece or give the people in your network the links to those articles and say, hey, I found this particular thing that you may be interested in because it's in your area. All right. And this is what I got from it. Maybe you want to take a look at it as well. So adding value. Okay. Making sure that whatever you do is relevant to the people that you are in contact with. Okay. And in that sense, sorry, you want to anticipate their needs. Because, like, for example, for you guys, okay, what I regularly try to do is try to anticipate your needs in terms of whether it's a topic here or whether it's in terms of looking at the news out there in the world of work and saying, what is the implication for job seekers like yourselves? What is the implication of people who are over 40? How can people over 40 cope with all the changes that's coming on, right? Okay, so that's how AI can help you. But this is a very strong but. Whatever you use in terms of AI and all that to help you do all these things here, please, 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 you want to have credibility, you want to build trust, which means please don't just use this and say this is you. These tools can help you, right? But this is not you. So content, you should not leave everything to AI to generate the content for you. You need to take a look at what's generated, tweak it to your own style, your own benefit. Image, like just what the HM was saying, okay? Do an image that is you. If you are 55 or 40, you are male, don't go and generate an image of you that you are 20 and female. All right? I know there's a lot of, now there's this talk about this AI, personalities earning a lot of money. Right? That's a whole different topic altogether. Right? But here I'm talking about you, your own personal brand, how it will help you generate opportunities for your own career. All right. Okay. The last one here, before I go to your questions. There was this question. Am I too old for all these sort of thing? All these personal branding, am I past the boat already? Okay. I guess the best way I can answer this is actually use my own case as an example. Okay. Now, 2024 is actually going to be, how I say, a watershed mark for me, right? Because I'm going to try something different from this year onwards. Okay. Now, in order to understand, for you to understand what I mean by something different, I need to sort of take a step back to give you an idea of what I've been through. Then you can see what I'm trying to do here. Is that okay? So give me maybe the next 5 minutes to explain to you what I've been through. Then you give you an idea of what I'm trying to do as a new way of doing things. Yeah? Okay. Right. My career started in 1989. I don't know whether if you were born back then or not, but my career started in 1989. Okay, over the first 10 to 15 years of my career, right, I went from different industries, IT, FMCG, and consumer electronics. Okay, and I also, for those of you who can remember .com, okay, I also joined .com. Now, this phase of my life, my career, I call it the product phase. Why? Because it was essentially looking at pushing products, okay, selling products to people, marketing products to people. Okay, and I did this for about 15 years or so. Okay, so I had a switch. I started saying I did a very conscious move towards more service oriented uh, professions and industries. So HR consulting, hotel and leisure, right? My last so-called formal job was as a senior administrator in an education institute, tertiary education institute, right? So this was my service phase. Okay, when I started going into this, I was probably around early 40s, early 40s. So the question you may be asking is, how did I transit from the product phase to the service phase? What did I do? Well, essentially it's these things here. I really looked at what I was good at, what my strengths were, and in essence, what my passion was. Okay. And I wanted to show evidence of this. So here in this portion here, right, my passion was for marketing, for doing creative things, right? But I was also passionate about people, managing people, helping people. Okay. So I started showing evidence of this in my communication, right? By telling people I manage people, how many people in a team, I help businesses and all that. My focus was on helping people develop leadership potential, right? When I went into this area, what I could demonstrate and what I could sort of show evidence was that my focus on what people wanted, what people thought, what people's preferences were, whether it's in hotel leisure, what they were thinking of, whether it's HR consulting, and whether it's in student bodies, what they were looking to be educated in, right? Now, in this last portion in particular, I came across a lot of postgraduate students who were very interested in my view of career switching because, as you can see, I made a lot of career switches. Okay. So in that sense, that sort of gave me the encouragement to then sort of branch out in 2015 to say, hey, enough is enough of corporate life. I started my own practice. What this practice here is today, right? Now, what have I done in 2015 to now? What have I done in 2015 to now? So remember, 2015, I was in my early 50s, early 50s. Okay. So again, it's about making sure that people know who you are, what the evidence, what strengths you have, and how you help people, and then you go and spread the word out. You get your network, your people that you're close to you, to sort of share what you are doing. Okay, so essentially that was it. So I started off by doing a lot of individual coaching, and in fact, most of my referrals, most of my business for individual coaching was from referrals from people. I hardly went out to push myself. Okay, all the so people knew that from my past experience how I helped individuals and helped manage teams and all that. So coaching became a starting point for me. Then I realized I wanted to do something more. Okay, so I went into these other phases. So I started teaching people to be career coaches. So I am an instructor for career coaching. At the same time, I did a lot of workshops, whether virtually or physically. All right. So here again, it is about building credibility. Okay, because I guess if I started the business in 2015 and immediately went out to all this before doing the coaching part, I would not have succeeded because I didn't have a track record. So the process for rebranding myself here was to show evidence of what I could do, right, and spreading the word. And all this was leveraging on what my strengths were and my experiences were. So what about 2024? So this year onwards, I've decided to refine my business. Okay, so I've done a new logo, and here the logo is reflecting what I intend to do in terms of scaling up. Right? You notice that the individual coaching component has dropped out of the picture. Why? Because I felt that I want to spend more time being able to scale myself to reach more people. Okay, so yes, I will still do career coaching, but on a smaller scale. But I want to focus on larger scale workshops and speaking engagements, whether it's physically or online. Okay, so it's all about scalability. So that is what I'm intending to do for this year. And again, I emphasize on the same thing, building on my strengths and what I was good at, what I'm good at. All right, I needed to show evidence, and hopefully over the last few years, there was enough evidence to show this, and spreading the word around to people like you, okay, to my own network, to tell people, hey, this is what I'm emphasizing on, right? I tweaked my LinkedIn profile such that I'm slowly emphasizing more on these particular areas. Okay. And the component of trust should then come into play as well. Okay, so here again, I want to emphasize in answer to the question of whether we are too old to do it, I don't believe we are. Okay, so long as we are very aware of the things that we want to do, and so long as we are aware of what we can do, the expertise, right? Like what you see here, all right? You want to show evidence, you want to tell people what you want to do, right? But in the process of telling people, you have to be credible. You have to be credible. Before we do this, I just want to emphasize my future sessions. Okay, so on 6th of February, just before Chinese New Year, I've got this topic on redesigning your career. Right, it's a webinar, same format as today. And then on 27th March, developing a career switching strategy. Two different topics. So if you're interested, sign on with WSG, the career grid. Right, it's the same process as well. Okay, now after you fill up this survey, right, I would recommend that you continue listening because, right, for those of you who've been to my workshops before, you know that, I share how you continue contacting me and all that sort of thing. But this time around, I'm doing something new. So it's a different platform that I'm going to use. So maybe you want to stay on and take a look at that. All right, it is something different. It's a new platform that I'm using. So hopefully you can see that and maybe make use of that. Okay, so if you can do me a favor, fill up the feedback form. Okay, so maybe I'll give you 5 minutes to take a look and fill this up, and then later on after that, I'll go through with the next portion for how to continue. Is that all right? Okay. All right. Okay, this is the new part that I hope that you're find it easier to keep in touch with me. So all the information that I'm going to share with you can be found in this one particular website. Essentially, what this thing here, by going there, you will see a few things. Number one, okay, you will see how you can get in touch with me. So there are various icons there that will show you my YouTube channel, my email, my Facebook, whatever. Okay, my LinkedIn account. So you can go there and take a look. You can also take a look at my latest postings from LinkedIn as well. All right. Now the other thing that you all want to take a look at is to look at this particular portion. Now, for those of you who are new to me and who want to get a recording of this particular video, this particular workshop, I need you to fill this up. I need you to fill this up so that I can email you in the form of a newsletter. Okay, email you in the form of a newsletter. So this thing will give me permission to email you. Otherwise, under PDPA, I can't do that. Okay. Now, if you don't want to receive future emails from me, by all means, that's fine. Just unsubscribe from the email list. Okay, when the newsletter comes to you. I will only send it once a month. I'll only send it once a month. Okay. So today's webinar, I will try to do is get it up, edit it, and remember, I am going to edit out all the Q&As. So hopefully within a couple of weeks, I should be able to do it. All right. Now, if you want it and send the newsletter to you, but if you want it faster, then subscribe to the YouTube channel. Once you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll be informed as soon as I upload it. Okay, as soon as I upload it. Hopefully that's okay for you. Now, those of you who are trying to understand more about what I offer in terms of services, again, that particular thing has the Career Bliss has got the information there. You just click on that and it brings you to all these things here. Okay. All right. So hopefully this is an easier way for you all to sort of access all the information there. There's some also resources on information on career resources. So you can take a look there as well. Right. So I'm going to regularly modify and update this particular site to put in more relevant stuff for you. So maybe you just window tap this particular portion itself. Now, I just hope that I will leave you with this message, because since today we are talking about personal branding, right? And I'm also alluding to the fact that you must be authentic, you must be genuine. No point branding yourself as someone that you are not, right? This thing strikes a chord for me. People will forget what you say, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And the only way you can make them feel positively is by being authentic to yourself. Okay, so can I just hopefully emphasize everyone, if you cannot remember everything else, hopefully you remember that whatever brand you push yourself out to, it should be you. It should be, someone that you are, not someone that you are not. Okay? 4:35. Overstepped by 5 minutes. Hope that was okay. Everyone, thank you so much for the last 2.5 hours or so. I hope that you got something good from today's workshop. I look forward to meeting up with you in the future workshops if that's okay. Or if you want to get in touch with me by email or whatever, by all means do so. I'll try my best to answer your questions or email. Take a look at the video recordings that I've given there. There's a lot of information there that will help you. Maybe some of the questions that you have asked in the chat box in a lot more detail. Okay. I wish you all well. Start of the new year, Chinese New Year is coming up. A lot of things to do. As Chinese, we always feel that the old year out with the old, in with the new. Have a new beginning, like what I'm trying to do as well. So I hope that you all frame yourself in a positive mind to have that new beginning for yourself as well. Okay, Year of the Dragon coming. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for your time. All right, take care. I see you again soon. All right, ciao.